Well, hi everybody, it's Kim Winter, Logistics Executive Group again, and it's my pleasure today to be hosting Mark Parlane from Singapore. Hey Mark.
Good afternoon, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. And so Mark, you're the SVP for Contract Logistics Asia Pacific for Kuehne Nagel. Your background is deep and rich in terms of contract logistics across Asia and the APAC region. Give us a bit of a heads up. I know you've been with Australia's largest privately held logistics company for some years early in your career, and also you've been with DHL. So maybe you can just give us, even before that, a bit of a heads up about your upbringing, where you came from, how you ended up getting into logistics or supply chain, and a little bit about your activities and your role at the moment.
Sure. Okay. Well, firstly, thank you, Kim, for inviting me on today. So it's a pleasure to be here. And I guess, like a lot of people, I didn't have a plan to get into supply chain. I grew up in New Zealand in a relatively small suburb. Wanted to see the world and wanted to just sort of, I guess, put your place in the world and put your marker down. And for me, that was always going to be outside of New Zealand. So I was quite keen to travel out and see what the world was all about. And then, so I got my degrees in university and jumped out. And my first job just happened to be in supply chain outside of New Zealand. So I joined a company called Tibbet & Britton, which was eventually bought out by Excel, which was bought by DHL, and that was the DHL connection. It took me a couple of years in the UK. It took me through to Asia for the first time, and then to the US, and then back to Asia, where I am now. So it's been a fun journey. It's been I wouldn't miss any of it, in terms of the richness of it all. It's been a pleasure to work in different countries, and I've now been out of New Zealand more than I was in. So it's I've crossed over that threshold.
So thanks, Mark. So a lot of Kiwis, including myself in the early days, head off on the journey overseas to. New Zealand's a reasonably small country. It's only a few, about 1,000 clicks long and a couple of hundred kilometres wide. So we get to see the beach pretty regularly. But a lot of New Zealanders do go on their OE, their overseas experience. And yours, I guess, went to the UK, and that's where you ended up working. Was that a plan, or was it just you're on holiday and decided to work while you were there?
No, it was a plan. I did want to work in the UK. I just didn't have the plan to work in supply chain. It just worked out that way. But back then, I think it's still the same. New Zealanders could spend 2 years in the UK with a work permit. So I took advantage of that. But after my 2 years up, I had to leave. I was effectively, time to go.
Sure. So as I say, you've been through Linfox, Australia's largest privately held logistics company, and possibly the largest of any sort, whether publicly or privately held. And then DHL. So DHL and then into Kuehne Nagel. The Northern Europeans tend to dominate large parts of the world with their logistics and supply chain capability. What was that like for you? I mean, you'd obviously been with DHL prior to that, but coming into an organisation like Kuehne, how was the influence for you?
Yeah, I think it's been a real eye-opener for me. All the different BUs report into the same person in the region. So we're quite close as business units. We're not separated. We're not encouraged to be separated. The monthly meetings and the line management meetings are for all the BUs. Nothing is separate in that regard. And it's been amazing to sort of see how the freight teams work. I mean, they're just machines. The way they sort of break down every trade and look at how they can position themselves for customers has been a real eye-opener for me. So I've enjoyed the experience so far. They're amazingly professional at what they do, and it's going every time you see them working. It's just it's a pleasure. So I see we also bought something on the market today. So we're in the M&A space today. So progressing all the time and trying to stay ahead.
Awesome. So Asia is you're based in Singapore, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, Asia's always been dynamic. The dragon economies, the last 20 years, there's been massive growth, especially across the middle class. consumer practices have been dominant in driving a lot of the contract logistics and freight business over that period. Talk to us a little bit about how the last 12 months or so has been compared to the previous year or two. With the pandemic, what sort of changes occurred? What sort of impacts? What did you have to do to react? What sort of areas could you lead in? Were you following? Were you leading? What was happening in the business?
Okay. Well, if you look across the different BUs, I think, first of all, the number of trades went down, and the different BUs were impacted in different ways. But we saw a decrease in revenues across the different BUs. But it quickly bounced back, across all the different business units. So I think our business is probably not too different to a lot of other ones where last year was a bit of a struggle to look at, how we have to adjust to the downturn in business with the different lockdowns and closures across different countries and all the different journeys the countries are on as well. They're all on quite unique journeys, the different countries, and reacting to the pandemic a different way. But this year you can see there's a real bounce back in the volumes. Things are back to close to where they were before, but the company has moved on quite quickly. The company is really driving forward, and I think the pace of change now is quite extraordinary.
Sure. Well, thanks for sharing that. What sort of impacts have changing e-commerce, changing consumer patterns, much higher requirement for home delivery, a lot of online purchasing? How have those factors really affected the way that you're running the business units that you're involved in?
Yeah, very much so. We see the companies or the customers, the development of the strategies are really starting to come to fore now. You're starting to see some of the first moves. I spent maybe a lot of last year trying to react and trying to then plot where they need to go next. And now you're starting to see the fruition of those strategies come forward. I think what we're seeing is, you say, more direct strategies to service the growing e-commerce business. Some of the stats that came out of the last year, I think I was seeing something like 1 in 5 customers were new in the e-commerce space, and the older you get, there was more and more new customers and different websites and going with e-commerce, and we have to react to that. I think the company has looked at how we can give our customers what they need in terms of more visibility, in terms of more direct ability to transact. So we're seeing that in our eShop Asia and eTruck now, different ways we can give our customers a chance to position themselves for that requirement.
Mark, has technology played a big part in that? And if so, just how has that manifested itself in the operations of the businesses? Is technology something that you're using to keep up, or is it a strategic position to drive forward and create new opportunities?
Definitely, it's strategic for us. We have to present ourselves like this because our customers are demanding that we do. So if we don't, they'll in theory they'll go elsewhere. So we have to do this. So it's with eShop Asia and eTruck now is providing a electronic platform, a digitalized platform for our customers to go on to transact, to be part of the services that we otherwise give them through phone calls or emails in the past. So we have to front up to that. If we don't do that, someone else will. And my business across the contract logistics is about providing more visibility about where the shipments are and also more analysis of how it's come and where it's going next. So the whole digitalization of that has been very important. Internet of Things in the warehousing. We've even digitalized a warehouse itself in a digital twin to give us an advantage with customers. So we're seeing different ways in which we can position ourselves in front of customers, and we just have to do this. First of all, because our customers demand it, but also for us to stay ahead and keep our position in the market.
Okay. Now, you guys have got a very large staff group across Asia. I know the contract logistics business has got a lot of people as well, irrespective of the amount of technology and IT support and what have you. Now, I know that you, like many other businesses, have been impacted in various ways by the pandemic over the last 12 months, and I know that's generated a bit of a project from your perspective that I heard about at the top of this before we went on air. I want you to share that with us because I think it's a very worthy cause that you're developing here, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure. One of the things of my role is you get to experience different cultures in different countries. I think we're in about 14 countries for my business unit across Asia Pacific. So you get exposure to a lot of people across the different markets and get to know them. And our team suffered a bit of a loss in the Philippines late last year, and my team, my regional team, were touched and moved enough where they felt they wanted to do more and support the family of the person who passed away. So we as a group, of individuals, we're walking virtually from Singapore to Manila to support a gentleman named Fido who passed away last year. And we're about 80% in terms of the money we're trying to target, and we're about halfway in terms of the kilometers that we're virtually walking. So we're getting there. It's a big undertaking by the team, but it's been fun to do it, and also fun to support a person we all cared about.
That's a fantastic project and attribute to the member that you lost there. So commiserations to that and his family, to that person and his family. How many kilometres are you guys walking, and how many of you are doing it?
Yeah, it's 2,391 kilometres from Singapore to Manila. So for me, I have to do about 50 kilometres of walking a week. So we're walking to Manila, and our total kilometres will equal 2,391 at the end of the day. So we're going to take us about 6 weeks to do, and we're about 3 weeks in. So it's a big undertaking. It takes up a bit of your time, but it's for a worthwhile cause.
Well, it's always tough to hear when we lose, or a company loses an individual in this situation. How can people reach out, and if they want to support you, Mark, what can they do? And we'll certainly make sure that we repeat any information that you give us on the banners when we publish this interview.
Yep. So all the people on my team, including myself, have posted, or we've written to our colleagues and friends to get them to support us, and they have. We also posted on LinkedIn. So if you go to Mark Parlane on LinkedIn, you'll see the Footsteps for Fido part of it. If you click into there, you'll see the Simply Giving website, and then from there you have a choice of whether you wish to contribute to the fund.
Okay, well, that's a great cause, and congratulations to you guys again, and well done for supporting that family. I know they'll be doing it tough. I understand there's some kids in that family, so everybody should get in there and support that, and people will be able to see your contact details below this one.
Yeah, it's been overwhelming, Kim, and can't say enough for the people and the colleagues and friends that have supported us. It's been fantastic. So really appreciate all the support we're getting. Okay, well done, Mark. Hey, I want to switch back to forward thinking in regards to where the industry's going. What are you seeing as being the big issues, the trends moving forward, whether they be challenges or opportunities over the next 12 months or so for the business, and you as a leader? So first of all, talk to me about where you think contract logistics is going, not necessarily just about Kuehne, but what's happening in the market, Asia, globally, and then also just yourself as a leader. What do you see as your main challenges moving forward? Sure. For the region, I think it's about positioning yourself for all the opportunities that I see our customers creating for us, because they sort of feel they need to move. They're going to put their strategies in place. If they haven't already, very, very soon, they'll be talking to us and our competitors around how we can support them. And it's up to us to front up to that. So, I see a lot of opportunity in the coming months and years as we front up to those challenges. As customers either look for how they're going to service the more direct trade and online trade, or they're looking at how they can go more end to end with better visibility. Whatever they need, more resilience is something that we hear a lot in the market. They're trying to get more resilience in the supply chains, but by positioning their supplies in different areas to be able to support the consumers better. So we're looking at how we can support that, and I think there's a lot of opportunity in the coming years to do that. Across all the countries, I see opportunity. China is one of those countries. Vietnam is really poised for a lot of growth, and I think some of the other Asian countries, that we're working with, India, even though they've done it really tough, compared to some other countries, the resilience in India has just been incredible. So again, our business in India is has really suffered, but now they're back to almost pre-COVID levels, and demand is increasing all the time. So, and they've still got the pandemic to work with. So they've been an amazing group of people. They've done amazing things there, and I see just opportunity right across the region. And I look at the growth rates that are published, expected growth rates for 2021. And you can see they're all mostly bouncing back to high single digits in some cases. So we want to take advantage of that and make sure we position ourselves for our customers to do that.
Right.
In terms of leadership, I think one of the things that was really stark for me was about a year ago when things started to lock down. The team that I had in place had been in place for a while, and they knew their roles. So when we started working remotely, it was amazing how they just stepped up. They all did what they knew they had to do, and they had the experience to be able to do it. So the pandemic came at probably the best time, if there's never a good time, but probably the best time for me and my team, because they all knew their roles really well and they knew their place in the organization. So I think for me as a leader, it's acknowledging the contribution of the team members. It's understanding what they're looking for, how I can help them progress and meet their own goals and aspirations, and in turn, they support their desires to go forward. So if I can do that, and with my team, I'm going to lose a couple this year because they've been promoted or they want to do something a little bit different. So you got to support that and encourage that. And that's, in some cases, that's part of the plan. And then blood some new team members, and again start to learn all about them. And I think one of the things that helped me do that is being away from New Zealand for so long. One of the things you realize after a while is that how you grew up and some of the foundations of your formative years make you think certain things, and your perceptions of even as something as simple as a meeting. You might come out of a meeting with a colleague, and I'd have a totally different perception of how that meeting went. And they would say something and I'd say something different. And together you formulate a strategy and go forward that way. But you sort of realize how extreme your own view was from your own perceptions of what people said, how they behaved, what their personal habits were. And someone has a different view on the same thing. So I think you need to appreciate the diversity. You appreciate what people can bring to the team. Listening is very important as leadership. And then forging a way forward where you think it's the best thing for your customers. So I think it's some of the things you learn over the years to make yourself a better leader, and learn that the fact that the team is, without the team, you're nothing that the team can be as a whole is far greater than a single person.
Oh, it's great feedback, Mark. I appreciate you sharing that. Kane, as you say, coming from New Zealand, we're a small country. I'd like to think reasonably humble people and always outward looking, and we have an extremely diverse and multicultural pretty much socialist background as well as a country where collaboration and groupthink is encouraged. Although we also encourage the very individual and be prepared to take risk and make mistakes and see how you get on. learn by your mistakes, I guess.
Yeah.
Mark, I always invite our guests to share any insights that you may have around tips for other leaders, especially over the next this year or so. Still uncertain times. We're living in very dynamic, uncertain environments in many cases. There's a lot of positive things on the horizon. But there's also caution to be had. What would be the one or two tips you would have for fellow executives, whether it be in the supply chain or not, about leaders, things to think about moving forward to drive success in a business environment?
Okay. It's quite a wide question, Kim. I think if I was going to give a budding young person, tips on, how they embark on their career, I guess I'd be telling them to find their niche about what drives them and understand what's driving you and driving other people. If you understand that, then you can understand the behaviors of the people around you a little bit better and easier and work together better to get a better result. So realizing, it's not all down to you. You're not going to rule the world yourself. What's going to make the difference is how you interact with your team members, what difference you make for your customers, and together how you can find a way forward that's going to be most exciting for everybody. So I guess be part of the team, learn your place in the team, find your niche in the team. There's a lot of room for individualism. There's a lot of space for that, so don't worry about that. but find out what you can learn from your team members and the people around you, and make the most of that, because there's so much diversity there, so much richness there. Trying to do it all by yourself is a long, lonely road. So get with other people and get with your teammates.
Interesting view, and certainly it's been shared by a number of guests in recent days and weeks that I've been interviewing, is that heavy influence around collaboration and cooperation and not trying to do things yourself. I think COVID has taught us and reinforced many things that many leaders may have already held as views, but for others may be insightful. Mark, before we wrap, I really just want to get a bit of an insight from you from the perspective of when you bring people into your team. Ultimately, you've got to be probably the final interview before people are inducted into the business unit. What is it? What are the one or two things that are really going to get people across the line to come and work in your business? What is it that you're looking for to really be the X factor?
Yeah, I like a process where you create a long list first, so you can get a lot more diversity into the list, and then drill down further from there. On a short list, I like to see diversity. I like to see commitment, and not just diversity on the list itself, but also with regard to my team, the team that they'll be joining, and how they could effectively, participate and add value to that team. I look for that. The commitment side, I like to see, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I like to see somebody who's stuck with a company for a period of time. It doesn't need to be overly long. I know there's value in jumping from company to get different perspectives, but I like to see someone who's stayed with the company for a while and different roles and see their achievements during that time. I really admire that. But not too long. Maybe 50 years is too long in a company, for example. But 3 or 4 jumps and showing a plan of moving. I'm attracted to those sort of people because it shows that they're committed to what they're trying to do, and can show a track record of success. Far more. So they're the sort of things I look out for. And then it's all about the team. If you've got a short list, it's because technically they're astute and they can do the role you're looking for. It's then down to how well they can contribute to the overall team and the diversity of the team, and whether we can be a stronger team because of them.
Fantastic. Hey, Mark, really appreciate your time. And I know you're a busy man, so we're going to wrap it there. But, Mark Parlane, Senior Vice President, Contract Logistics, Asia Pacific, Kuehne Nagel, Singapore. Thanks for your time again. I trust the audience have enjoyed our conversation, and all the best to yourself. All the best for Footsteps for Fido, and we're going to list that information, as people can see below, so they can contact you guys, and if they wish to contribute, and we certainly encourage people to do so. It's something you can do in a very positive sense for somebody who's had a loss there. So all the best with that, all the best for the rest of the year, and hopefully once we're travelling again, catch up with you in Singapore sometime. Look forward to that. Thanks, Kim, and won't come too soon. We've got to get back to travelling, hopefully sometime soon. It'd be lovely. No doubt about that. And thank you to our audience. Thank you to the first responders, to everybody in the front line for keeping us safe. Please, everybody, keep a distance, mask up, and wash your hands. Stay safe out there, because it's still very dangerous. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Kim.